vibe. Come let we lime, come let we vibe. Lime vibe. Lime vibe.
So hello and welcome again to another Lime Vibe podcast. I'm your host, Yori Kemp, today, and I'm here with my beautiful guest, Miss Elizabeth Francis, the owner, CEO of Christique Clothing, right?
Yes, it is.
Christique Clothing out of Trinidad and Tobago. So Elizabeth, how are you today, man?
I am fine, and I want to say hi to everybody who's locked on. So Christique Clothing is gonna change in a little bit. I'm
Oh,
actually gonna change the name, to encompass, my vision to be able to go out into the Caribbean and embrace, have the brand go out globally. So
okay.
I'm
So
gonna be going to Christique Caribbean, just that.
Christique Radio.
Christique
Okay, so are
Caribbean.
you breaking news here on my podcast, Elizabeth?
Yes, yes, I am.
Breaking news on the Lime Vibe podcast. Breaking news. So it's going to be Christique Caribbean. Okay,
Yes, yes,
that's a
it
good
will
place.
be.
That's a good man. So how's it been going with you anyway in Trinidad?
Also, Trinidad has been, trying to get itself together after the pandemic.
Mhm.
A lot has been happening, but we have been able to, as I say, we outside now.
Mhm.
So we've had Carnival,
Yes.
the events are coming back full stream,
Mhm.
and a lot of new things are happening. So it augurs well. People are trying to, find their niche and be able to find themselves, and be able to jump on the bandwagon and benefit from it.
You're a
Yeah.
carnival reveler?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're not? Oh, wow. Everybody I talk to Trinidad doesn't say they're a carnival reveler. Nobody I talk to, everyone runs away. Why is that so?
Well, you need to find the revelers, because there are many of them. It's just that the people that you associate with probably just not into it. But
Yeah.
it's not that I'm not into carnival. I do love the culture.
Mhm.
I love certain aspects of it. I love the creativity.
Mhm.
I'm all for the creativity.
Yes.
But the wine and jam, that's not me. It never was me. And I would, before I would have attended, I would have gone to like day fetes and stuff.
Mhm.
Right now, Carnival for me is more about e-commerce and commerce in terms of how I can benefit financially from it.
Yes.
Not being, like I used to be at one time. I was like, because I listened to other people,
Mhm.
and they would, as a Christian, they would tell you, you're not supposed to really, get yourself involved in Carnival.
Mhm.
But during the pandemic, I began to really look at it differently.
Mhm.
And in terms of what can I derive from it, using the gift and the talents and the intellect that God has given me,
Mhm.
to be able to, use it as a source of funding.
Mhm.
Because when you think about it, I am into fashion design,
Mhm.
and the people who are into food, whether they're Christian or not, they still benefit.
Mhm.
People who work for the corporate companies, whether they're Christian or not, they benefit.
Yeah.
People who enter broadcasting, Christian or not, the photographers have to go out there on the day.
Mhm.
So why, make what people think cause me to stay away from benefiting from it?
Yes.
And
That
so,
makes sense.
last Carnival, I took the opportunity to use my skills as a decorator
Mhm.
to be able to I got some jobs, well, a job with one corporate company to
Okay.
decorate their tents that they would have gone to different events with.
So
Because
you,
everything's being done in a big way now.
so you see carnival as something different, totally different. You see carnival as a way where you can make money.
For me, yes, for me.
That's
And Carnival has a lot of opportunity for a lot of people to. There are a lot of spin-offs in terms of being able to find an avenue to benefit from it.
Mhm.
When Bunji Garlin had sung that song, and he said that during the pandemic, because of no carnival, that a lot of people were suffering.
Mhm.
He wasn't really wrong, because there's so many people, and we take it for granted, that actually earn a living doing carnival things.
Yeah.
Whether
Just
they in the food industry, whether they're providing T-shirts, whatever.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
a big thing.
Okay. But not you though. You're really zeroing in on carnival. Though. Before we get into all of that though, tell me a bit about yourself, Elizabeth. Tell me a bit well who you are and where you come from your background, that sort of thing.
Okay,
Who's
so
Elizabeth Francis?
I am a roti loving Caribbean woman.
Roti.
Yes. I love fashion. I love to travel. And my brand, Christique Clothing, is a sustainable Caribbean brand.
Yes.
I design and produce bridal and resort wear. It's a Caribbean aesthetic, but made from natural and organic fibers.
Okay.
You know, but the fabrics that are made from natural and organic fibers, right? I am zeroing in on the sustainable aspect of it because I have a passion for the environment as well. And as a fashion designer, I just don't want to be just another brand. I want to be able to be a brand with a purpose.
Yeah.
To be able to, you know, put a message out there, because just the fashion designer have an opportunity to use their collections, their lines, as a way of, you know, putting a message out to the public, as a way of speaking on issues, right? So I chose sustainability and the environment as the two main topics that I would highlight through my collections.
Okay.
One, because I am seeing and learning every day what the damage of the fashion industry is doing to the environment. It is no secret, because there's a lot of information out there that fast fashion is, you know, leading the way in terms of pollution. Because the garments are not made to last very long and for any particular amount of time or season. They are supposed to be utilized quickly and gotten rid of. So what is happening now, you have, there's actually an entire island where fast fashion garments are being dumped. And just recently they showed a documentary where they did an aerial view, and it's horrendous.
Wow. The
entire landmass is littered with clothing. And because these pieces of clothing are made mostly from synthetic fibers, which do not degenerate quickly, it remains there and it's just accumulating. And the same thing is happening with garments that end up in Africa, because when the US get rid of their garments, a lot of them would send it to Africa to be sold on the market as used clothing, right? A lot of what is not sold, because a lot of it ends up there, it's not really good, right? Because in the first place, when garments are produced for fast fashion, it's rushed into the system. So a lot of it is not quality items. So you find by the time they separate and they take out the things that, you know, they want to sell and the things that they don't really want, and they send it to Africa, a lot of it have holes in it. A lot of it is not sewn properly. And some of it is ending up in Trinidad here too, because, you know, when you buy from Shein and all of them, you get like second-class garments, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of it ends up there, and then when it's not sold, they're just dumped. And there are communities in Africa where you have almost the entire village where clothing is dumped all around them. So it ends up, especially where the poor people are, right? And so it's just there, and it's just rotting slowly, and of course it's creating health hazards and all of that.
So that's where you got Nico. So that's where you got eco-friendly fashion. Yes.
So this is what pushes me to want to do something different. You know, want to be able to jump on the bandwagon in terms of all those in the fashion industry who are promoting circularity in fashion and sustainability, and be able to make my contribution as well. So okay, go ahead.
No, so let me ask you a question. So when you talk about eco-friendly clothing, right? And you're talking about clothes that don't, you know, basically they don't degrade as quickly. So why would somebody buy a shirt that will degrade in about a year's time? Why would somebody buy one?
Okay, so it's not the matter of that, you know, the shirt. Okay, so for instance, sustainable fabrics, sustainable material would basically be made from natural fibers or organic fibers, right? And those materials, when they say not degrade easily, when you're finished with cotton, you see how easily cotton is to burn, right?
Yeah.
Even if you take it to the landfill and you catch a ton of cotton, it's going to burn and it's going to disintegrate into nothing, right? If you do that with a synthetic fiber, because they are made from petroleum and different chemicals, it does not burn to nothing. There always is a residue, and beside that, the toxic fumes goes up into the atmosphere.
I got you.
And then the rest of it goes into the soil,
and
it ends up into the river and the water streams, etc.
Okay.
So it's not that cotton is going to disintegrate on you while you're wearing it, right? It just means that when you get rid of it, if you have to, it is easy to disintegrate.
Okay, that sounds better, Elizabeth. That sounds better. Yeah.
And because a lot of the organic fabrics are not created with chemicals, it's just basically natural raw material that is going back into the earth.
Okay. That sounds better, Elizabeth. That sounds good. Because the way you made it sounds if these clothes are just going to drop off you as you're wearing them,
Exactly.
But that's not the case. So what's your favorite part of being a fashion designer, though? I mean, I know you spoke about all the eco-friendly fashion design and clothing, right? What's your favorite part of being a fashion designer? What gets you up in the morning?
So the thing about it is I have only been a fashion designer for 5 years. Before I was actually a dressmaker, tailor.
Oh, okay.
I love that aspect of fashion. I love fashion, but I wasn't able to practice what I wanted to do simply because I didn't have the knowledge. I wasn't able to, my dream in terms of going to a fashion university abroad, I wasn't able to accomplish that in my early years. So I stuck to what I knew here and what was available for me to work in. So I would have built a clientele from being an amazing, well, they told me that, an amazing dressmaker. I did my own designs in terms of, put together style stuff and all of that. And I also practiced some tailoring because I learned under a tailor.
Okay.
So I learned it, I went through the steps kind of backward, right? So I learned the production aspect of it. And then I had the opportunity to work in a company where I was a specialist fitter, and I would have traveled for them, going to do fittings for their clients of the Caribbean and in Trinidad and Tobago, right? So I learned different aspects of the job in terms of production. I was also working as quality control at one time in the company as well.
Okay.
So I got the opportunity to work in different aspects of the fashion industry.
But you came in through the back door, like how you said.
Yes, but in terms of being a fashion designer, that is something that I was really passionate about, because I would sit and look at the international runway shows and see how the brands would have, their collections coming down the runway. And there was always something very unique and special about it. In terms of there seemed to be a connection in every single piece. I always wanted to have the knowledge of, how do you, decide what fabric to use? How do you decide on what color for the particular season? How do you actually, come up with a theme? How do you know what you want to do? What inspires you? What is your whole concept behind the collection? Those are questions that will, circling in my mind. And although I would have taken part in shows here in Trinidad, I was never satisfied with what I did because I always thought I wasn't doing the right thing. Because when I look at what we were doing, I was like, why our things always like, you just put in, you go in the store and you buy a piece of fabric and you buy a yellow piece and a red piece and a green piece and you just put it together and, So I always had that deep urge to know more. I also wanted to know more about fibers and fiber content. I grew up on a farm, and so my battery is about to die.
Oh Lord.
I just need to plug it in. So you
Mhm.
can take a commercial break and I'll come back.
Okay, okay. Let me pause it right now for a second then.
I know you're gonna edit this anyway, so I hope.
We're saying?
I said I know you're gonna edit this, so we'll be able to cut it
Yeah,
out.
I'm gonna cut it up. So
Yeah.
I go now. Mm-hmm.
So yes, so I really I used to do my own research,
Mm-hmm.
and I realized that in order for me to get in knowledge, I really have to, pursue the educational aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always my desire, to be able to afford to go to a US university to study fashion design. Basically, what you have to do is you have to do a degree in fine arts
Mm-hmm.
and then
Yes.
major in fashion design because it's a fine art, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, God is so good.
Mm-hmm.
In 2010, I was able to get into the program because it had just started here in Trinidad.
Mm-hmm. Which
There were
program
some
is
people
this?
who were working in the background, and then UTT
Which
came.
program is this?
So let me just go from the beginning. So we started the University of Trinidad and Tobago, right?
Mhm.
And there are a couple of people who were working in the fashion industry who had a passion just like mine to be able to add the educational aspect of fashion design in Trinidad and Tobago.
Mhm.
And so they worked really hard behind the scenes. And one of the persons who worked on this was Mr. Christopher Nathan.
Mhm.
And they were able to get the government to collaborate with them in creating the Caribbean Academy of Fashion Design.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so it was put into onto the UTT program as part of the curriculum that UTT would offer, right?
Okay.
So UTT offers a Bachelor's of Fine Arts,
Mhm.
and you could specialize in fashion design. And they also have a diploma program for fashion design, and they also have um, one that isn't fashion design, but it's all about if you, let's say, like you're doing like what you're doing here,
Mhm.
um, doing
Podcast.
magazines and
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
and creating. So you're gonna be the person, well, fashion production,
Mhm.
right? Yes. So you're going to be the person who I am going to go to and say, here, what I'm planning my collection for 2023.
Mhm.
And I would like like assistance with marketing.
Mhm. Okay.
And you're the person who is going to connect the dots for me in terms of marketing with the media and getting me into magazines and all of that, right?
Mhm.
And also help me in terms of doing my tech sheets and all of that
Mhm.
to go into production,
Okay.
right? Yes. So they had those three programs being offered. And in 2010, I jumped at the opportunity to get to do fashion design.
Okay.
And I
So,
was,
but you've been in fashion for about let's say 13 years now then.
yes,
Okay.
but I've been pursuing, I pursued the degree with some stops in between,
Mm,
right?
okay.
So it's a 4-year degree.
Mhm.
And well, of course, a bachelor's is 4 years, right? But
Yeah.
I took a couple of years off simply because it's an expensive program.
Mhm.
Although at one time we had gate funding,
Mhm.
well, for me, and it's also really time consuming. So you have to decide whether you can do this and still hold on to a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to make the sacrifice of getting a job that I could have manipulated my time.
Ah,
Yes.
that's so.
Yes, unfortunately for me, around that time, I also had a major life event occur
What
where
happened?
I yes, I lost my home.
Oh wow.
Okay?
Oh,
Yes,
sorry to
I
hear that.
lost my home, not a fire or a flood, but the fraud. I
Mm,
had just invested in property because it was something, as I said before, the business I had before, it was pretty successful. And I always had dreamt of retiring when I got to 45.
mhm,
And I was like, I was working my way towards that.
mhm,
And one of the things that I was going to do when I got to that stage was get into real estate
mhm,
so that I could have someone manage my business and then have this this real estate going on
mhm.
so that it would be able to be providing for me. And, I could do a lot of other stuff, travel like I wanted to. Because before I used to work 24/7, I never took
Yeah.
time for myself.
God
I,
rerouted you, Elizabeth.
mhm.
So God rerouted you.
Yes, so I'm glad I'm talking to somebody who knows God because when I tell everybody the story,
Mm, yeah, yeah.
it was like, it now I understand what he was doing.
Mhm,
When that first happened, I was losing my mind
mhm,
because it took me from up here
mhm.
flat on my face.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
literally lost everything because I didn't just lose because I invested all my money
Mm,
into that property.
mhm.
And so I lost my money, I lost the property, I lost my business because there was nothing to hold, to flow into to generate the business anymore.
Mhm,
And then mentally, it affected me, emotionally and mentally.
mhm,
Because basically, I'm a sort of a loner. I don't have a large support system around me.
mhm.
So I literally had to depend on God. I had to find God in the way that I was supposed to, in
Yeah.
the beginning, because I had gotten to a place, now I could recognize it. I had gotten to a place where God was just a by the way for me. No, seriously, I was going to church, yeah? I was very committed to going to church. I was doing the church things.
Mm,
But listen, I was not surrendered to
mm,
God. I was not in that place of surrender, total surrender.
mhm,
Because I had the money,
mhm,
I was able to do things for myself.
mhm,
So I would pray and say, yes, Lord, I want this house, bless me. I went out there and did my own thing. I didn't ask God, should I be with this man?
mm,
Oh, I'm getting a funny feeling, God, why is this? Should
mhm,
I wait?
mhm,
I just went and did what I had to do. And I was saying, thank you, Lord,
mhm.
when I did not even ask God if this was what He wanted for me. you
Ah,
know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So you had to be
So,
broken.
yes, so God literally pulled the carpet from under my feet.
Ah, Lord.
And I had to get right back to square one.
Mhm,
It was hard. I would tell anybody it was really difficult. There were days I got to the point I felt like I couldn't make it anymore. I
mm,
just wanted to give up. And I remember this one day I am reading, I never forget this story. I'm reading this Guardian newspaper,
mm,
and it's like I was just crying, crying, crying because I was trying to get the person who I was dealing with because he was a mortgage broker. I was
mm,
trying to get him to pay me back some of the monies that I had put into his hand.
mhm,
And he was just, running me around and just being boastful about it too at the same time.
mhm,
And so this was really eating out at me. And I just felt like I couldn't, Lord, I can't do this anymore.
mhm,
And it's like, the Lord said to me, go outside and sit down and, try again, pray again.
mhm.
And I sat down there and I was just crying and praying. And I was like, Lord, I'm not even feeling you. In those times,
Yeah.
like, God really there or you're just talking to yourself. And within the tears, when my tears were just falling, I looked down on the newspaper and I saw a little article, a little ad in the
Mhm,
classifieds that said, if anybody can fix this, God can.
mm,
And listen to me. That was as if God had spoken to me in clear words himself.
mhm.
And within that few minutes, something just turned inside of me. Like I felt hopeful again.
Ah,
And my tears dried up.
mhm,
And it's like, in my mind, the Holy Spirit started to speak to me and say, you're the type of person who fights.
mhm,
You have fought all your life, everything that you have,
mhm,
you're not a person that gives up.
mhm,
And at this time, you can't give up either.
mhm.
You have to fight.
Mhm.
And so I just started to get busy. I would wipe my tears, and where I was living at the time, I was staying at somebody's home. I tidied up, well, I not always tidy, but still did an overhaul.
Mhm.
And I set up my shop again in the house there. And I started to reach out to my clients, and clients started to reach out to me. I shouldn't even
Mhm.
say I reached out to them, because people just called me. And I got one big job, two big jobs, and then I was able to move out of that person's home, and everything
Wow.
the wheels started to turn from there.
Yeah, he built you
And
back up stronger.
yes, and it was while I had a really wonderful client. She always saying to me, Elizabeth, if I had the money, I'll send you to school, girl, because when she ordered something,
Yeah.
when she came and she put it on, she would jump and scream. And then when she go to work, she's working in this corporate place, and she has a lot of meetings. And when she goes to work,
Mhm.
all the compliments that she's getting, she's like, oh my God, she just can't help herself. So she's like, girl, you're amazing. If I could only afford it, I would send you to school.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one day she came and she gave me, she ripped out something from the newspaper.
Mhm.
And it was UTT advertising that the next cohort was about to start, and
Mhm.
they were taking applications.
Mhm. Okay.
I went and I took some of my garments with me, because you had to carry some, and I did the application and everything.
Mhm.
And I applied, and I got through. And I applied with my subjects, sir. Yes, so you had to have your CSC subjects, and
Yeah.
if you had anything else, right? So I did apply with it, and I got through.
You got in. Wow. And now
I
you're off to the races.
Excuse?
I say now you're off to the races now.
Yes. So listen, it wasn't after the races, and I was tumbled down because everything that I knew, I had to unlearn it.
Oh wow.
Because yes, I thought I was an amazing sketch artist.
Mm.
When my customers come, they would be like, "Oh my God, just sketch something for me.
Mm.
This is what I want. I want it with a little flair," and I would just be drawing. And when I got to school, and the lecturer said to me, "Y'all, this is not fashion sketching. You have to start from scratch.
Oh my goodness.
There is a formula to everything that you do. You
Mhm.
understand? It's not just about putting your hand on and doing freehand everything.
Mhm.
I had to learn everything all over. But I am grateful. The journey was amazing. It was hard. I cried a lot of tears. There were days I thought, oh my God, I just not going to come back to school. But I kept on pushing.
Because you
And
remember where you were beforehand.
excuse?
I say because you remember where you were beforehand.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I did. And within that whole season, God provided a job as well. And then I had to leave the job, because I had to make a decision either to stay with the job or leave, because the job entailed me traveling. And I can't travel and go to school. So then I left the job.
So now you
And
take care of yourself, but through Christique Clothing by itself now, right?
so by that time, Christique Clothing was not happening.
Mm.
It was because, as I said, I had lost everything. I literally had to sell some of my machines, and right. So when I started school, I found another job, and it wasn't really a like a full outright job. It was a job, yes, the work was there, but it was on a part-time voluntary basis.
Okay.
Because yes, but I took it because I believe that is where God wanted me to be.
Yes.
And it was with an NGO,
Mm-hmm.
because I grew up, knowing compassionate ministry. I
Mm-hmm.
grew up always wanting to be able to help others, and especially women. I always wanted to make an impact in the lives of other women.
Mm-hmm.
And I have this thing about me that there is no failure. There is no I can't.
Mm-hmm.
And there is nothing that I can't do or accomplish.
Good. Good.
And I always, when I speak to other women, I would always impart that to them, that no matter what you're going through, once you focus on your goals and stuff, you will be able to achieve it.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And when you put your life in God's hand, he takes you down a road. He does things in his own way. And God is a radical God. He is not going to do things, the way that we envision, that,
Yes.
it's going to be normal and ordinary and boring. God doesn't do that, So when I had, at one point in time, I left Arima just before I started school. I left where I was living in Arima, and we had gotten an apartment which would have been affordable for us in Pity Valley. And I'm just telling you this because it's how God orchestrated everything.
No, I love the story. I love the story, Elizabeth. Keep on going.
Yeah.
Keep on going. I love it.
So the job was in Diego Martin, right? School is in Port of Spain. And where I got to stay was in Pity Valley. So everything was around the same area, right? And when I left the job, the other job that I went to was in St. James. Now, I would have been following the NGO long before, because I really had a love for the person who heads the NGO, right? I always found her to be very transparent, and I kind of identified with, when I heard her speak, the things passion that she had, And I always said, Lord, I don't want to start my own NGO. I prefer to work with somebody, and lend my talent and lend, myself to that. And one day, I left the job, not just getting up one morning and deciding I was leaving the job. I got sick, right? I started getting these real terrible headaches, and it just would not go. And I eventually had to decide, what, I'm not going to go back to work, because it was a stressful environment as well. And I decided, what, I would go, like God just kind of imparted in my heart, go volunteer with the NGO, because what you want to happen to you, because, and one of these stresses too was me getting a little impatient with things not happening fast enough for me, that rebuild, that regrowth, And so what was placed in my mind was, what you want to happen for you, you need to make happen for others.
Yes.
You understand? And so I started volunteering with the NGO to, like, they would do food sales on a weekend, and I could make a best buy. So I used to donate the pies, right? And then the connection grew from there. And eventually I was asked to come and manage a facility that they had. And that was an amazing experience. For 5 years, I stayed with them. And I was able to go to school, because from St. James, I could walk to school.
Okay.
If I didn't have money to travel to school, I could walk. You understand? There were days I walked to school and I walked back home. Even if I had money, I would walk it, because I love walking. So I would walk. And I was able to almost complete my degree. And I was able to also do volunteer work. I got a chance to, express the other talents that I have, which are, catering and, meeting people and,
cater as well.
marketing.
I see you cook as well. You say
Yes.
you're a caterer. Oh,
Yes.
okay. Oh, okay. You're a full-time artisan, Elizabeth.
Yeah. So I was really happy in the space, being able to manage the facility, as well as it gave me to meet a lot of people. A lot of people that I know now are people that I met while I was there at the facility. Now, we would have offered hospitality services in terms of, like, other NGOs or individuals who came in from abroad and stuff. So I was connected to a lot of people. And I also had the chance to express my skill as a deco, interior deco artist, right? So yeah. So I was able to do those things. And when I finally left the organization,
Mhm.
it was God as well. Simply because me of myself, I was happy there.
Mhm.
Things were happening, right?
Mhm.
No life is perfect. But I was still contented to stay. And then when I went to Dominica in 2017 when they had the
Hurricane for
Hurricane
you?
Maria,
Yeah.
yes, we had done one of the biggest in terms of relief efforts
Mhm.
that year.
The
And
NGO you're working for.
yes, that was the NGO, yes.
Okay.
And so I got the opportunity to go to Dominica as well and to work firsthand on the field.
Mm.
And I ended up staying in Dominica 3 months.
Mhm.
Even when they came back, I stayed. And
Why'd you stay?
because the people of Dominica are really beautiful,
Mm.
very friendly, very family-like. I made so many friends. And I wanted to experience what Christmas would have been like, because at that time the power wasn't really restored as yet.
Mm.
And there was still a lot of damage in the country. But people were slowly, starting to catch themselves.
Mhm.
And there was this one family that I had gotten really close to, and I decided to stay and spend Christmas with them.
Wow.
And
That's an
yes,
amazing journey. They just let you into their house, Elizabeth?
excuse?
They just let you into their house? That's an amazing story.
Yes. Hello, I am according to my son, I'm likable.
Okay. That's pretty wild, man. But how did you get to trust
I,
them so much though, so quickly?
because I found that there was, just like Trinidadians, we have it kind of sends people with your spirit.
Mm.
And the person that who became my friend, she's a primary school teacher,
Mhm.
really lovely person. She has relatives in Trinidad as well. So within the 3 months, we would have, interacted a lot, and we would have collaborated on, getting her stuff to distribute in her community and all of that. So we would have spent a lot of time, and she would have been hospitable towards the team as well.
Mhm.
Like when Dominica had its Dominica Day, we
Mhm.
all went to the parade, and then we went to her home, and she made callaloo soup. That was the first time I had that. So she did callaloo soup for us, and she makes the meanest sweet
Mm.
bread,
Yeah.
and so she fed us. Yes.
Apparently, someone just told me about sweet bread the other day, day before yesterday. And I didn't even know you guys make sweet bread. What's in that sweet bread, by the way?
So sweet bread is made with coconut. So you grate the coconut,
Mhm.
and it's mixed into flour and sugar, essence.
Mhm.
Some people put a little baking powder, a little yeast,
Mhm.
some butter, and there are raisins. So it's sweet. It's actually a sweet bread. So it has all of this coconut in it. And some people they use coconut husk,
Mhm.
or they just use the milk alone. The
Mhm.
one with the husk is really nice because it makes a nice sort of a grainy bread.
A
And
gravy bread.
yeah, so it's sweet, and
Huh.
then sugar is sprinkled to the top, and you put like your fruits and stuff in it. So
Ah,
it
but
has
that sounds like
raisins and fruits. Yes, it's nice. It's really nice.
diabetes.
And especially if someone could make it really good.
Mhm.
Not everybody could make a boss, but I can't make a boss sweet bread.
Oh wow.
I am not a baker. I try,
Mm.
but I get
Baking,
a sweet
baking
bread
is
at
different.
the
Baking makes a lot of difference,
consistency.
though. Baking takes a
Yes,
lot more time than actually
yes,
making
yes,
the
it
stuff.
does.
Mhm.
And I think you have to have a knack for it.
Yes. The
Yes,
patience.
yes, and then measurements are very important.
Mhm.
Yeah, you
Yep.
can't just dash everything in and expect good results.
No, you gotta take your time. You gotta measure
Yes,
the things properly.
yes, you
Take
got
time
to,
on
the
your bed.
measurements have to be precise.
Yep,
And
yep. So you had a full life, Elizabeth, man. I mean, you went around the block. God took you through the ringer to bring you out to where you are
so,
now.
yes,
God took you
yes.
through the ringer.
So when I came back from Dominica, I basically, there was a situation where I realized that God was pulling me away from the NGO.
Mhm.
And so I reluctantly left.
Mhm.
Um, but the Holy Spirit spoke to me while I was there because I had an interaction with someone, and I was upset about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it's like the Lord said to me, listen, you love to swim, but you really can't. You have never learned to swim,
Mm-hmm.
but you love the water. He was in Dominica, going to every river you could think of and waterfall. And if it is that you were about to drown,
Mm-hmm.
I know that you would swim to save your life.
Oh boy. Yeah,
Yes.
that's true.
Those words were clear in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And the Holy Spirit said, pack and leave.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I have that sort of encounter, it's like if my tears, I just look at it like it's a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you see the tears actually just going back up into the person's eye,
Yeah,
and their face get dry. That is the kind of experience that I feel that I have. And I just got a sort of a sense of peace. And I had already gotten all my stuff together. And I was convinced, yes, Lord, I am leaving.
Mm-hmm.
I left and I got an apartment and I started back living on my own.
Wow.
Went back to school to finish my final year.
Mm-hmm.
And I eventually completed, not without drama, but I completed. And yeah, because I believe everything, that you do,
Mm-hmm.
in order for it to be excellent,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't come without challenges,
Yes.
And the challenges, especially, I can't talk for everybody. I know what my journey has been.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the challenges for me was put on my journey so that I would dig deeper within myself
Mm-hmm.
and do things that I thought to myself that I could not accomplish, right? It was the opportunity for me to end up having a story to share, having a testimony, to be able to share with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the opportunity to unearth things in me that I never knew existed, or things that I would have kind of like put in the background. I've always liked to write. I
Mm-hmm.
love to write. I love to do poems. I love to express myself. But I never thought that, I would want to write a book or I wanted to use this in any particular way. I just, would leave it there,
So the enemy thought was for evil, was for your good.
Exactly. And so after I graduated, the pandemic come and happen. So it was like, Lord, I'm excited. I want to start Christique Clothing because now I understand fashion.
Mm-hmm.
I understand exactly where my niche is and what I want to contribute. Sustainable fashion is something that I discovered that I love, and I want to pursue it with everything that's in me. And
It doesn't get a lot of the airplay though. I mean, sustainable fashion isn't the first thing that pops up to people's minds. How do you put it in people's minds that sustainable fashion should be the first and foremost option for persons who are looking for clothing and fashion?
I think the word is bandied about a lot in the Caribbean, but not much emphasis is placed on raising awareness about exactly what it is and how it plays a part in our lives in terms of in fashion. Slowly but surely, the message is coming out. There are a couple designers who actually practice it, but they don't really, market it like I would, And so, for instance, the cloth, for years, they have only used natural fibers in their collections. They are basically a design brand that is built on sustainability, right? But it is not the key thing that they have pivoted their brand on.
Okay.
They have something else. I don't know what their brand story is, right?
Yeah.
But for me, sustainability is something that I have put as key for my brand.
Okay.
And so raising awareness is something that I am also very passionate about, because I want my clients to understand what the brand is, what we stand for, what we're about, and what they're investing in.
So in this particular niche that you're in, what are the skills needed to be successful? What do you need to be, what is necessary for you to be successful in this niche market of sustainability?
All right, so it's just like it's simply the same as fashion,
Mhm,
as you would for any other aspect of fashion.
mhm,
But the more knowledge you have in terms of, so for me, like right now, I am hoping I would be able to do my master's
mhm,
in sustainable fashion or in sustainability,
mhm.
and then, branch off to zeroing in on sustainable fashion itself,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
Because there's a lot to learn in that particular industry.
Mhm,
And so a lot of what I'm learning now is basically from my own research
mhm,
and from connecting with other industry professionals
mhm,
who are doing the same thing,
mhm. So
and
you're
also
learning as you go along.
organizations.
So you tell me that you're learning as you go along then.
Yes, so I'm learning
Wow.
about sustainable fashion as I go along,
Mhm,
right? The basis of sustainable fashion, we would all know, is being able to use fabrics or
mhm,
materials
mhm,
that do not do harm to the environment.
mhm,
You understand?
mhm,
So basically, decide on when you're designing your collection, you would want to, if you're thinking sustainably, you'd want to research the fabrics that you're using and make sure that they are being produced ethically and also eco-friendly systems,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
There are like the GOTS.
What's that?
Those are standards by which people in the industry operate by.
GOTS? What does that stand for?
So I will come back to you with the definition
Okay.
because I didn't know it offhand. But it is what you would see stamped on fabric that it has been produced
Mhm,
by suppliers who follow the regulations,
mhm. Okay.
right? So let's say like Kiss is making bread,
Mhm,
and you're supposed to make bread to a particular standard. It's supposed to have a certain ingredient in it,
mhm,
right? For it to be called, let's say, the whole wheat bread. In
mhm,
order for it to be called organic bread, it is supposed to have a certain percentage of actual organic wheat.
mhm.
It's the same with the fabric. So you can't say your fabric is organic and you have some synthetic material in it.
Yeah, it's not gonna work.
You understand?
Mhm.
So you must be able to follow the standards and know exactly the fiber content that you have in each piece of fabric.
So that's a lot of back and forth with the regulators then.
It's not necessarily it's standardized, so they know what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So a lot of these suppliers who are actually doing fabrics made from natural fibers, they already go through the drill of
Mhm,
making sure that the farmers who plant the cotton are doing the particular grade of cotton,
mhm,
and that it's when it's being produced that it is not produced using an excessive amount of water and energy and all of that,
mhm.
right? So by the time the fabric gets to the supplier, all of those things have already been covered
Okay.
and it's already stamped.
Okay.
So I go to them and I buy the fabric.
Mhm.
I know that this is exactly what I intended to use.
Okay. That's
There's nothing hidden, right?
very intensive there, Elizabeth. It's very
Yeah,
intensive.
so there's a lot of background work
Mhm.
in terms of making sure that you give the client or produce exactly what you're saying that you're doing,
So would you
right?
say the business part is the most important part of fashion, or it's the logistics part? Like how you just explained that you have to go through all these different procedures and routes.
Yes. So
What's
I
the most
think
important part?
it works hand in hand, because every aspect of it is important. Fashion is a business,
Mm,
right?
mhm,
In order for me to really be successful, all of those areas are important.
mm. Okay, I
I
got you.
have to, yes, right? So I have done a lot of business studies. Business was part of the degree as well.
Mhm,
But even after I completed it, I went and did additional business courses.
mhm,
to be able to prepare me, right? I am hoping by the time I get this business to where I want it to be, that I would be able to, afford financially to pay for those things to be done for me, and not me having to, perform all of the tasks right now like I'm doing. So I'm my own production manager. I am my own buyer. I am my own
You can't sustain all that.
designer. You understand?
You can't sustain all of that, man. You need to hire someone.
Exactly. So once as the business is growing, I definitely cannot do all of those things on my own.
Yes.
And this is one of the things I try to explain to people in terms of who kind of don't really understand the purpose of us in Trinidad doing a fashion degree. There are so many spin-off careers that can come from the, just doing the degree, because it is not concentrated on one particular subject. You do a little of everything that is required to be a part of the industry. So there's a scientific part of it where we go into a little fiber science, right? And all of these things, just like any other degree, if you want to specialize in it, you have to, when you finish, the same way a doctor would go and do a medical studies, and then when they finish, they still have to come back and specialize.
Where do you find yourself in the next 10 years? In fact, with this fashion designing, where do you see yourself?
Okay, so right now I am in the building stage. So Christique Caribbean is my baby, and eventually I'm working hard to be able to get it to grow into what I desire it to be. I want to be recognized as a sustainable brand in the Caribbean. And
you're the only person now, right?
Excuse?
You're the only person now, right?
No, I'm not. As I said, there are a lot of people who are actually doing it, but they are not, passionate about it as I am in terms of focusing, a lot on the sustainable aspect. You understand? Okay, so let's say, for instance, there are a lot of local bakers who have the little bakery shops and they're making bread. They would compare different to Kiss, who actually goes into all of the marketing for their bakery and promoting it outside of Trinidad and Tobago, and they're doing different products and they're doing research into seeing, the little man who is baking in the corner, who's baking really good bread, is not going to go into all of that, right? But he's still baking bread.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's the same, like for me, there are people, fashion has so many different aesthetics that people can choose different areas in which they want to specialize in.
That's cool. That's cool.
Right?
You recently had a show just then, didn't you?
Yes. So recently I did my my second collection.
How'd that go?
Right. Oh, it's awesome. It hasn't gone yet because I'm still fine-tuning it. As I said, there's a lot of preparation work before you actually put a collection out. So one of I'm having to deal with some of the setbacks in terms of not being able to access the fabrics that I would actually love to use for my collections. I've already done a lot of groundwork in terms of getting the suppliers, but I being held back a little bit because I don't have the financial backing to be able to do what I actually want to do. So right now, that is what I'm working on.
It's gonna happen.
Yes.
The financial backing is gonna come.
Yes.
Once God's on your side, the financial backing is gonna come.
Yes, it will. And he's doing some things. Even this week, he's doing some things. And a lot of things that I have been exposed to in terms of getting information and connecting with people, and really just sharing my brand story, and getting people to understand, pitching my brand has been all, like, for me, God orchestrated. So the more people that I connect to, I am connected to other people who are really beginning. I'm seeing it working up to where that door will open for me.
Yeah, you
right?
got yeah. I mean, the social media just brings everybody together, man. You could build your network off of social media,
Yes,
WhatsApp alone.
I am building in the meantime, and I'm hoping that eventually, I'm right now I'm not focused on like, okay, going to get a loan to put into the business to get it to where I want it to be.
You can do
I'm
it
trying to source. Right now, they have a couple grants available. I am trying to source the grant funding. So I am supposed to be having meetings even this week coming up here with Export TT, who is the facilitator for one of those grant facilities.
Okay.
And so I am going to be in discussion with them. I have
Okay.
spoken to them before. I've been talking to them. And so I have to, like, we're going to have a meeting and we're going to take it from there.
It's not like Creative Caribbean, is that right?
Creative Caribbean.
Yeah. You apply for that grant?
No, I didn't. Some of the grants, they only cover countries that are under the OECS. Trinidad and Tobago is not part of it. There are some amazing grants, but unfortunately, not for us. Right? Yeah. So Trinidad and Tobago also has their own individual grants that the government had put together on the heels of the pandemic.
That's good.
Some of them are for startups, some of them are for bigger businesses. Although they say small business, but the cutoff figure is pretty big, right? So the one that I would fall into the bracket for would be Export TTs. Yes. And Export TT is doing a lot of great work in terms of they are helping small businesses like myself, and especially women-led business, because they have collaborated with ITC She Trades. And ITC She Trades is an international organization that really helps in terms of marketing and providing opportunities for women-led businesses.
Okay.
They provide trading as well. Yeah. So I've done training with them. Yes, it's ITC She Trades. Yeah. And they have an arm that is operating together with Export TT in Trinidad and Tobago now. So for International Women's Day, there was a seminar, and the women led businesses owners were invited.
A global seminar.
Yes, it was really nice. Yes. So it was sponsored by RTC She Trades.
Okay.
In collaboration with Export TT. Yes. And so Export TT is doing they always do webinars and seminars and training sessions in terms of handling the business side of it. So they expose you to market opportunities, they expose you to trading opportunities as well. And they also this week, well, on Wednesday and Thursday, we're supposed to have another training seminar for 2 days. And they're going to be discussing getting export ready. So I am taking advantage. Yes.
That should be hot. Export ready.
Yes. So I am taking advantage of those opportunities, and not just getting the knowledge, but being able to put the knowledge into practice.
Action, right?
And yes, let it materialize into what I wanted to do. I am at the tail end of another session that we were doing as well, which was a collaborative session with UE and TT. So let me tell you, I have the head knowledge. It's not lacking at all.
Why don't you keep moving around the place? God's gonna keep open up doors for you, man.
Yes. So as I told them, I said, whenever I get to these sessions, they ask me, well, what do I need? And I say, you all would like to meet the state, but I just need money. Max House was my my great uncle, and somehow that tagline has stuck with me. Because honestly, I do have, I have the experience, I have the knowledge, and I have the vision. I know what I want. And basically, right now, all I need is to be able to get that financial investment to really take this business to where it's supposed to be.
Wow. And that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen, Elizabeth. That's gonna happen for you. I'm quite certain of that because once you keep moving in the right direction, God's gonna keep on opening up doors, and people are gonna notice that you're working so hard, man. Because you really need to sell this point that this is a sustainable fashion house. You
Yes,
know, I think this
yes,
is the time now where everything being eco-friendly, being
yes.
conservationist. This is the season right now for people like yourself. And I wish you all the best, man. Any final thoughts you have here?
Okay, so I really want people to look me up on social media pages,
Mhm,
follow my journey.
mhm,
I have two pages. I especially share my work on LinkedIn. So it's Christique Clothing on LinkedIn. You can just search Christique Clothing in Google and everything will come up,
mhm,
right? So I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on all the social media platforms. I'm on Instagram where I share most of the photos of my work.
mhm,
And this new collection, I really want to share it with the Caribbean.
mhm.
It was the concept behind it is Afrocentric, and I was inspired by those great warrior women, because
Mhm.
I have a passion for women, right? So
Like you watched the Black Panther too many times.
no, I didn't. I've always been like that. I think because of our heritage,
Mhm,
we have certain intricate, you know,
mhm.
qualities that have been deposited in us.
Yep.
So those old warrior women,
Mhm,
that a lot of history has not been exposed to us. I really want to be able to share that so that we also, share with the younger ones the history as well and keep it alive.
mhm,
And like people like Queen Candace, she's also mentioned in the Bible. The guy, the eunuch, was one of her servants,
mhm.
right? And people like Harriet Tubman, coming down through the ages, we had all these powerful black women. A lot of that, is not shared, coming through the education system.
Mhm.
So a lot of us young women, young black women don't grow with people that we have in mind who are like, people that we could look up to or we know about. Do you understand?
Mhm, mhm.
Um, so thank God for Black Panther and stuff. It kind of like brought some a re-education and open up, avenues for people to ask more questions and kind of identify with, with people
Yeah.
like themselves. Yes. So anyway, the concept behind the collection is, celebrating those women and the qualities especially.
Mhm.
So my T-shirt, like my T-shirt says, the name of
Oh,
the
let's see
collection.
t-shirt. Okay.
Yes. So the name of the collection is Ore Ati Unye, and it means graceful and courageous.
Graceful
And
and
all of yes, graceful and courageous.
mhm,
And the symbols, all of these symbols, those are Asante, Akindra symbols.
mhm,
At one time, it was the Asante people is a tribe out of Ghana.
mhm,
And at one time, this was like what they would have used as a language to communicate,
mhm.
right? So, like the one with the circle, that um, that symbol means leadership. So all of these symbols have very strong meaning. So I chose these five. This one here, the little bush, which you could hardly see, right? The one like the grass, like the bush, like the
I
tree.
see. Yeah. Yep.
Yes, that one means grace from God or faith in God. The one with the circle is about leadership. The other one, like the clover leaf, that one is abundance.
Mhm.
This one is the ram's horn, and it's like strength and wisdom. And this one, which is like the star, how my hand is pointing the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So all
Look
of
like a
them
baseball
have
logo.
very powerful meanings.
Mm.
And they
Okay.
were specifically chosen to be part of the collection.
Mhm.
And so
Okay.
the collection is all
Mhm.
fibers that are made from fabric that is made from natural fibers.
Mhm.
So I have some linens
Mhm.
and organic cottons
Mhm.
and a blend of rayon.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah. And the
So
pieces are nice and flowy. I especially did it to be elegant, and
you
as
find
good
this
as
collection on Instagram
graceful.
or you can find this collection on Instagram or Facebook, right?
I haven't released the collection in totality. I just have one or two photos that I did from the show.
Mhm.
Because the collection still has some additional work to be done on it.
Okay.
I have a print that I'm doing abroad right now, and it's supposed to get into the country by the end of the month.
Okay.
And a lot of the pieces will carry that print.
Okay.
And so the collection would then be released, and I would have a lookbook so that persons can see exactly all of the pieces.
There you go. Elizabeth, Francis, thank you so much for joining me on this Lime Vibe Podcast. See, it wasn't that difficult, right? It was a good show.
Yes, it was.
I learned a lot about you and learned a lot about fashion, man. So I thank you for joining me for the Lime Vibe Podcast, Elizabeth.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Talk to you later. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Stop the recording.